all right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Talking That Talk Official Podcast, where we have comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. I'm your host, Juice, aka No Ordinary Brother.
What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to your favorite show. I go by the name of King Exodus. As always, we appreciate your time. Thank you for tapping in. Make sure you tap into the YouTube channel. It's in both of our bios. Hit that link. So, tonight's episode, we won't really open up with anything in particular. We'll just tap into this whole political landscape, if you may say. We have Trump's inauguration. He's the new president of America. He was sworn in on MLK Day. So yeah, we'll just tackle a couple of different things that transpired. Kicking it off, we have the great couple that y'all like to idolize, the Obamas, right? Michelle and Barack Obama. So two events took place. Jimmy Carter's funeral, in which Obama sat next to Trump. They had words, couple of laughs. Social media went crazy. And this just goes to show that it's politics as usual. In this political landscape, it's no different from any other work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen some people be like, yo, I went to trial and my attorney was going heads up against the prosecuting attorney. And it was like order in the court, an all-out brawl. But at the end of that, right, the person wins his case. He goes to a birthday party, and then he sees the judge, the prosecuting attorney, his lawyer, everybody at the party having a great time. They even told him, "Hey, you come back to my courtroom next time. I don't know if you're gonna win that one." To them, it was all sport because they still coexist within the same world, even though they're on opposing sides, just temporarily for the moment. Some of these people went to the same schools. They're in the same social circles. So, of course, it's not ops. We have to get out of the op mentality and see the world for what it is. It's a political landscape. So we'll have that conversation. So the Obamas, we had the Jimmy Carter funeral, and then we also have Trump's inauguration, to where Barack Obama went by himself to both events. And this is not only just a president, but this is the first black president. See, when we say that, everything that comes with that image has to fit the image of a typical president and more, if we really want to be real. So in this political world, your wife has to be there. It's part of an overall picture or image. When your wife isn't there, and we know you're seated next to Trump at this event, and then it's Trump's inauguration, that's the next event. 1 + 1 is 2. We know that she probably didn't want to be there because it's a Trump thing. And this goes back to where a lot of men just say, look, the women just need to take the back seat, let the man be in the forefront. Why? Because in situations like this, politically, a man emotionally should be able to respond to the situation and move forward politically correct. You've given your wife so much of a platform as if she was running for president. Actually, like, she did more speaking than Kamala did, Kamala, whatever, in her own campaign. And now she's emotionally invested into the script of hating Trump, which that's probably not even genuine or authentic. I just keep it real with you. But let's just say it is. She's too emotionally invested into something that she doesn't actually belong to that world 100%. So it doesn't make sense. If she would have just been Barack's wife, let him do the campaigning against Trump, we probably wouldn't even have a situation to where she doesn't show up at these events because she was so invested into it. She could have just been his wife. So we'll unload the clip on this, and this particular couple, this particular situation is fuel for people that say this is why, this is what black women do. This is what the black family looks like. This is a woman that stood in front of everybody and said, women, go against your husbands. Now, what does she do? She puts on black forces, not white shoes, not white forces. No, nothing white about her shoes. And she stands on motherfucking business. She goes against the first black president that we have. And we see that, okay, this woman stood on business. Now that makes him look weak as a man, men outside looking in, especially in the political world. one thing I can say about the Clintons, Bill got here in the White House. Okay, I don't think there's any other first lady that went through the scrutiny that she went through. She stayed 10 toes in the relationship. She even ran for president twice. And when you see Bill, you see Hillary. This is how it works. So I won't go too hard in it. I'll let you give your feedback and I'll come back in. But what you think about Michelle Obama not attending these critical events side by side with her husband?
Um, I said things are opinionated, etc. Blah 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 blah. But the main thing I be trying to tell people all the time is, listen, when you step into a certain world where status comes into play, it's men making money, being competent, there's levels and stuff. If you don't see yourself going down a certain path and role and understand that you got to show up to places no matter what it is,
Wow.
you don't need to be a part of it, right? I've been having discussions with this for quite some time, and I remember having a couple of talks with some women, man. I gotta be honest. I'm gonna be the first. Listen, I'm gonna be completely honest. Some of y'all need to stop giving y'all opinions on things y'all don't have. Y'all never stepped in that type of world. Never dated those types of men. Never been in situations where you understand you have to show up, you have to host, you have to do certain things at all points in time as a family unit when it comes to decisions like attending certain ballrooms and gatherings and stuff like that. Listen, if you ain't never did that, your opinion really doesn't matter. I'm just going to be honest. It really doesn't. It's cool to say whatever you think comes to mind, but you don't understand. This is why when Kevin Samuels used to talk out, he used to say, like, listen, these men have to move a specific way, and they have to find women who understand that at the same time. Because if you're so caught up in your feelings, you're going to fuck with the business. And when you fuck with the business, you fuck with the family's image. And so many people are so caught up with just who they are as an individual, you forget you're a family first. It's what I used to say, family first before anything, because you being an individual doesn't matter. But we're in a world where everybody still wants to be individuals and forget you're in a unit now, right? I don't make a lot of decisions when it's me and somebody else anymore, right? I always say, listen, I'm a purpose-driven person. I always say my purpose first, my family second, because my purpose is driven back to my family. Because if I get off track and don't get stay on my purpose, I can't feed my family the way I need to feed it. So when I say that, it's all about staying on track. Like we was just having a conversation. I said, bro, you'd be surprised. It'd be women. You can have $1 million meeting, and if a woman want to talk right then and there after you done told her, like, I'm stepping in the other room to take a call, they'll still come in there. Like, hey, fuck that $1 million call. We need to talk right. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. What are you talking about? Like, did you not just hear what I just said? We can set ourselves up for down the line and things to come, right? And one of the things that I remember just discussing like that with somebody is like they're like, well, you talk a lot of people think I'm talking hyperbolic, and I'm like, bro, no, I literally seen a lot of this stuff happen right in front of my face. I have literally watched it. This is why I always say one of my favorite things Kevin would say was like, yo, what's the level of competence you actually dated with a man? Was he a junior? Was he a senior? Was he a director? Was he marketing director, regional director? Like, what level of high status have you ever dated these men? And that will really tell you the reality of why some people move the way they do. Because if they dated these types of men, they understand why image is so important, why you can't be so opinionated. Because even themselves can't be opinionated. They understand, hey, listen, when we're in public, I'm going to answer questions accordingly. Behind closed doors with our friends, no cameras, we can shoot the shits all fucking day. But we understand public image is important. It's brand, it's idea. Imagine your favorite art. Let's just say your favorite person in the world. We all understand there is an image and a certain gravitas that you have towards, not say gravitas, we're going to say a certain pull that you have towards them. The minute you don't see them act a certain way, y'all be shocked. Be like, oh my God, I didn't know they act like that.
Damn, really?
Bro, it's what are you expecting? Like, we're still human, right? That's why I always say, listen, I don't want the ability to walk outside and not have some freedom because I want to be able to eat my food and tell you move the fuck out my face. You know what I'm saying? Some people have to stand there and smile like, yo, the personal space and everything, it's non-existent once you get a certain level. So my main thing with everything that's happened that I say is bad for the image. It's you can see the year before, like I said, during the Harris run, how she's maneuvering, how she's talking, how she's speaking. I watched how Obama was talking when his wife went left. He went left with her instead of just calling her like, "Hey, baby, like we're not doing that. Like, let's get back on track. Let's make sure we do certain things." It was like if she's going left, I got to go left with her because then it looks like we're unified. Then it is like, hey, I'm going right and you're going left, and people can tell that we're not together. See, that's the things y'all got to realize that you have to be able to pull people back and get them aligned, or you got to do the things, you got to sabotage just like them in order for y'all to look like y'all aligned. And what do you really want to sabotage? Absolutely not. Everything you built will be fucking destructed if you don't get yourself back in check. That's all I always say. Have the proper men around you, have the proper women around you. You need people who can be like, hey, listen, your wife's going left field. Hey, your husband's going left field. You need to get that in line, right? Because just like y'all talking about, like, oh, well, you're talking from a man's perspective. No, women have got taps on them shoulders that dated them bum ass niggas that try to bring them to them corporate events, and they talking too stupid, and they also got to check themselves. It's everywhere. All right, that's enough here right now.
One important thing that's very critical here is I hear comedians, I hear everybody, they all up Obama. Like that's our guy, and they be like, "Man, Michelle, she's so bad," and she. If we make that sass the standard, which it automatically becomes a standard because of what they represent to the black community, it 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 sets a standard that the woman could pretty much, like you said, be a complete individual within a family unit. And this is counterproductive towards what we need to do as a community to become a community, because a community are building blocks of families. Building blocks of individual families come together and form a community. That community then transcends and becomes a political society, culture, et cetera, et cetera. And now it becomes an empire, civilization. Like, but the family unit is the building block. If we have a man that's here and a woman as an individual, we're always going to see a clash. And that's what we see for the American black family, quote unquote, is a clash of powers, a clash of ideas, a clash of everything. And then somehow you see the man take a submissive role to keep the peace. Steve Harvey gave a comment that went viral. How I've been married so long? Well, I shut up. Man in the audience say, well, what if I'm right? He said, oh shit, I could tell you ain't never been married before. You ain't married. Denzel Washington. How was I married so long? Well, I learned how to be quiet. We see the submissive role that particularly black men have to take just to keep that black family unit. And now we got to put that on the scale. You know what I'm saying? Like when we talk about the wealthy families and the wealth that controls the world and how everybody's moving, well, you got to eventually do all the mathematics in that equation and see that, well, the highly successful black men that we see that's millionaires, that's loved by black culture, they somehow take a submissive role to a black woman, their wife, and that's the rhetoric that they teach and put out in front of the masses. So what other man do you see that takes that stance, like majority wise? And I don't know, y'all going to argue a minority. Well, it's this one white guy that does this with his wife, and he's no, nope, nope. You don't see no other group of men. I'm gonna say 90%. Just let's just start at 90%. Hell, even 80% that takes that submissive role in a family unit. So now we got to have these talks about gender roles and all that. But needless to say, if you don't want to politically follow the rules of politics, don't date a man that's in politics. Mm-hmm. When we do this equality bullshit conversations about the men and the women, the feminism conversations, the only place I can see that applying is like you look at Amazon. Yo, Jeff Bezos, his wife. They started at the same ground up. She put in racks. She was an attorney. They built the company together. That's the only time I see where a man could kind of be like, all right, I'll shut up. You know, you was there. You was with me actually shooting in the gym. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's different. You know, but we see a lot of different situations where the gender roles never play out and work in certain cultures' favor. So, needless to say, if you understand how your image affects not just your own house, because a lot of people say that, well, what if he cool with it? It doesn't matter. The public eye, the scrutiny, the other black people within that culture that idolize them are gonna see that and say, okay, well, shit, if she didn't show up when she should have, well, shit, why should I? Like, you know what I'm saying? He cool with it. You know what I'm saying? So let's just keep that real. Let's be real about that. So let's make another little segue. So, and with the inauguration conversation, we have hip hop artists that performed: Snoop Dogg, Nelly, Rick Ross. I think I'm missing another one. Um, but
Soldier Boy.
okay, cool. Soldier Boy. Okay, bet. Alrighty. So I really like the fact that people jumped on Snoop's case because he released earlier videos where he was like, "If you perform for Trump, you're a coon." Da 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 da. Cool.
2017.
When Snoop's homie, Michael Holden, gets released from Trump, I think that kind of changes the conversation because personally, Trump impacted his personal life. All right. Nelly said something that was critical. He said, "Look, I was raised in a household where we respect the office, no matter who's there. That's key. So he's not a typical black person that was raised to be Democrat, no matter what. He said respect the office, not Democrats. So now he comes from a different household. But then he says black people have always done business with people that they didn't agree with in order to advance. What are you going to say about that? We've always done it. Like
Mhm.
Martin Luther King Jr. grew up in a Republican household. But when he did the Civil Rights Bill, yeah, Democrats responded to it based on their own agenda to push the Democratic Party to the image that we see them in today via Lyndon B. Johnson. But, you know, politically, you still have to put into the equation. He grew up in a Republican household. You know what I'm saying? So these type of things happen. And then you have Malcolm X that said, fuck both parties. We don't follow Malcolm X rhetoric and we don't follow everything else Malcolm X said, but some kind of way we follow that one little piece, but we throw everything else to the side. That's another conversation. But if you're going to be anti-Trump because Trump is in the White House, so now you're against the House, as a black person, if you're going to pull that card, you have to be anti-American if we want to go that route. Because we can't just say racism, inequality, and this whole system of white supremacy only started behind Trump. And Trump is the only modern exemplification of this image. We can't say that. And not if you're anti-Trump, then you're against the system. No, if you're against the system, you're against the system no matter who's in the seat because it's a system. It's not based around a particular person. So don't play them games with me. If we're anti-Trump, we're anti-American because you're against an entire system. And then if we're going to be against that system, let's also be against the religions that they created. Yours in particular, Christianity, Judaism. Let's be against that too, if we want to play that role. Let's be against everything that broke up the black family household and black economics. Let's be against it all if we're going to do that. But you can't pick which part of this little tree branch you want to. If you're hanging on this tree branch, then you're no. It's the same damn tree. If you're anti-Trump because he's the modern symbol of whatever you want to make these things that's anti-black people, you have to be against the whole system. You can't pick which parts you like. That's not how this works. So that'll be my segue into that. Snoop actually had probably a reason because he actually got benefited personally. Nelly just kept it real with you and said, this is a political opportunity for me, and I was raised a certain way. And everybody else, we can kind of conclude it too. And Nelly also said something. He said, nobody else invited me. Barack didn't invite him. Why didn't the black president invite all the black hip hop artists to his inaugurations? I shut up. You got it.
No, man, I'll be honest, I really ain't got no comment. That's pretty much one of the best things Nelly said to me. I'm a, I always tell people, bro, I'm a businessman. I don't get involved in politics. I'm looking to do business no matter whose side you on. I don't care. Like, let's do something. That's the best way I can explain how I move. Like, hey, listen, red, blue, white, pink, I don't give a shit. If there's something to do where we can build and there's a problem to be solved and we can service each other with a product or service or look for solutions together, let's do it. We shouldn't have to get down to the part of what side you belong to. Now, do I understand some people look at like who are you united with, political base, religious base, and stuff? Yeah, I understand that, but I'm still gonna be a businessman regardless. Like I don't care. It's business to do. Let's do it. And then the funniest thing right now is you have a lot of people that saying, listen, it's actually kind of easier to do more business with Republicans than it is Democrats because there's not a lot of things you have to particularly go by when it's easier to get things done. You don't have to. It's a lot. I ain't gonna say too much. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. Kind of something similar with this whole like hip hop artist thing. You have to align yourself with power politically and in real life in order to advance. And like I said, you have to be real about being a rebel. Like there's a lot of part-time rebels. Like you could take a person's thoughts and what they do, line it up into a definition, and they'll be like, I'm not Republican. Bet. All right. Well, what do you believe in? Okay. Well, if you check out 8 of these boxes, you're Republican. Nope, I'm not Republican. By definition, you motherfucker, you fit the criteria. Like this is how it works. Like you don't get to pick. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like um, black culture in particular, if you're loyal to black culture, you don't align with anything outside of black culture, which is includes the food you eat, the God you pray to, how you live your day-to-day basis life. We have your New Year that just hit. Everybody was like, Happy New Year. Well, you have people that's heavily involved into quote unquote woke black culture that where we like, nah, we don't fuck with the New Year until April. We understand the 13-month cycle and calendar and who changed it, and we want to talk about the Constantine change in time or the Gregorian calendar, Pope Gregory. So we don't give recognition to January being the new year. Y'all laugh at those people, but y'all anti-Trump. Make a choice. It's either you black or you're not. You can't pick how black you're gonna be, and then you know what I'm saying, whitewash it when you want to whitewash it, and then make that the new norm for black culture. Everybody don't have to fuck with that culture. Everybody don't have to agree with you. You know what I'm saying? So people we just opened up with the Obamas how Michelle can be an individual and it's accepted amongst the feminist community. Well, as being a black person, I don't have to fit your collective ideology of what a black person is. I can be an individual then. And then it could be other individuals that think like I think, and now we have a new collective. I don't have to fit your narrative to be black and hate who you want me to hate. All right, cool. So let's go here. The TikTok conversation with the inauguration. Trump was heavily responsible for the TikTok ban, but he brought TikTok back under his watch. He's the hero and the villain within the same narrative. What's your intake on that? What's your take on that?
Um, be honest, bro. I don't. Man, listen. Y'all got one thing about me, y'all. I don't be paying attention to some things that I feel like doesn't matter. TikTok is a good platform for marketing, getting your stuff out
Mhm.
there. Stuff like that is if it's here today and gone tomorrow, I wouldn't give a shit. It's just one of those things that is beneficial for the social media aspects and social information that to flow. Like I said, you got healthy things on there, but you also have destructive things on TikTok. So I know early on when TikTok was first formed, it was one of those things that people were like, "Hey, listen, people using TikTok to steal other people's information, do stuff of that nature." So when it became like one of those things of piracy, let's say piracy or not piracy, privacy invasion and stuff like that, I felt like that was a high risk. Those are always situations that should definitely be taken into consideration, right? You gotta always remember, like anytime you authorize certain apps, like all your information is gone with, because you now enable that app to do so. So when you have things that it started to that can go into like government officials, stuff like that, we have kids that are part of it. You know, you got to be able to protect anything asset wise, security wise, anything that can be infiltrated or manipulated to a certain extent. So with TikTok, like I said, to me, hey, it's cool, still there. Boom, chance to keep marketing, chance to keep moving forward, chance to keep doing stuff like that. Being the hero and the bad guy, shoot, I look at that as an everyday lifestyle for any man that has masculinity, some type of head on his shoulder, like anything like that. Yo, I already look at you like you're both the hero and the villain. I talk about that all the time. Masculinity is you're both. As long as you use masculinity the right way, quote unquote, to the viewers' perception, then you're doing the right thing. But to the wrong person, you're doing the wrong thing. And that's one thing you have to get out your mind is being a man, you're gonna be wrong in other people's eyes, but you still have to stand on principles.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Um, I like that. I like that. But the whole TikTok phenomenon, first off, their algorithm is very unique and different because the algorithm is the only algorithm on the social media app to where everyone sees your content, not just the people that follows you. That's key and critical. And then if you want to control the thinking of your nation, you most likely control the narratives behind everything, the information, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with TikTok, it's like anti against that, to where the information is just free flow, open source. So some people say it was a Chinese tactic to get the Americans to turn against America through information. Okay, we have that. So these are the things that's put into play. Um, Also, I heard Trump like literally say, "Look, we have this company that's benefiting off American engagement. It's not really. It's let's say it's worth $1 trillion, but the American consumer engaging with it makes it worth $1 trillion." He's like, "Yo, I want in it." You know what I'm saying? So if you look at it from a business standpoint, it makes sense. Um, and there are social media platforms, American based, that are banned in China. So this is not a new thing.
Yeah,
Um,
you
so,
go. That's another thing.
so if we're talking about the data, you know what I'm saying, being our data being compromised, okay, cool. If we're looking at it as a political advancement for Trump to say, okay, cool, um, Americans should have access to the capital that TikTok creates, okay, cool. Um, Either way it goes, this is not a new play. These are like things that have always been reoccurring. Even when Mark Zuckerberg said the Democrats made me do this whole fact check thing. Fact check is really all left wing.
I did not know that. I'm gonna
He
listen.
openly
There's some stuff I missed, y'all. I gotta go watch that.
he openly said that like the Democrats made me do it. Okay, so fact check is left wing. Okay, cool. It's the same thing. You're censoring information. You're using a political platform for political advantages. So, we gotta. If the government really cared about our data being compromised to China, we wouldn't have Timu. We wouldn't have Alibaba. Um, let's just
Alibaba,
let's just keep it G. This is not all
T-Move.
about your data. You feel me? If that's the case, we ban it all, but we're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? And then in the peak of it all, Meta releases a video editing product similar to CapCut. CapCut belongs to TikTok. So we just gotta, and as far as him being a hero and a villain in the same story, once again, this is not a Trump creation. This is an American creation. How many wars have they funded? Both sides of the war, created the narrative behind the war. They were actually the villain, but you saw them as the hero, and they cashed out. And some of these wars we're still involved with in some type of form or fashion today. Don't come to me about Trump. This is not a new play. It's from a playbook. It's called the American playbook, not the Trump playbook. You know what I'm saying? So let's just keep it real on that. So that's what I got on the whole TikTok thing. TikTok is similar to Bitcoin. Gold at one point, gold was actually something that backed the American dollar. Then we had to find new ways to back the American dollar, so we put it behind oil. Bitcoin still doesn't have an actual intrinsic value, right? No commodity backed it. So we're always using these things without intrinsic values, and we're giving them value.
Mm.
So let's just be real about that. Another part of the conversation we could bring up would be the birthright citizenship. If you're born in America now, you don't automatically get the birthright citizenship because you're born here. Um, some people look at these things once again on a race level. I just think it's all based on his whole push is against illegal immigrants and the reasons why you come here and set up shop, become an American, or have a child on American soil.
Hmm.
So I don't really see the negative in that at this point. It can evolve and grow into something else. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would definitely say that this, to me, was an aim towards illegal immigration. I'll let you go ahead.
No, I believe it's the same thing when it comes to that as well, illegal immigration. Um, like I said, that was always a tactic that was maneuvered. Because that was one of the biggest advantages that you can do on American soil was that was you born here, become a citizen with that child, and then guess what? I know them child once they became a legal age. Some of them, how was it? Did they adopt their parents? Excuse me, like don't quote me correct, quote me on this, but I forgot. I know once the children became a legal age, they were able. It's easier to cross over their parents within to the American citizenship quicker because they have somebody that's already within American land. So
Mhm.
I listen. I know people who did that personally.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I told X all the time. I grew up in a black and brown community. It was a lot of love, but trust me, when we found out down the line, or even with the families I was cool with, was that was some of the things they did. It was like, hey, once the kids were citizen, the parents might have been there already illegal, but getting paid underneath the table. They got cool with people, stuff like that in that nature. Everything's in their kids' names. And once the kids hit the legal guardianship or whatever the age is, it's easy for them to transition to American citizenship because their kids are already there. It's, it's tactics, right? Shit. I don't know what to tell y'all, bro. Like, you're gonna listen. If there's a loophole, people are gonna take the advantage of it. And if you don't take the advantage of it, that's cool. But if there's a loophole, they give it to you for a reason. Let me just put it like that. If you smart enough to understand why they created some of these constructs, these laws, these policies, and then you find out there's loopholes and people that are skipping past other people and doing stuff like that, it's the reason behind it. And if you can find out how to do it, hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie, do it yourself. For instance, I know people who get signed off on high positions without having them high position experiences. But what they do is they do certain internships with people, get it, work with them underneath. They be like, hey, listen, they've been with so and so company and did this about and this much in sales. They built da 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 da. Right? They'll be a senior representative within this company, right? But they'll have zero fucking experience. But within that year of doing the, uh, with them taking the, what I was just saying, the internship, once they sign them off and they get uh, clearance to take other tests like professional tests, and boom, they're professional right off the fucking gate. So I don't know what to tell y'all, bro. Y'all better learn these fucking loopholes. Yeah, I mean, I ever asked some situation like, yo, how do you get in that position? Loopholes or knowing people that's in places that can get them there. I'm sorry, bro. This is why I say I'm obsessed with this game. You better get obsessed with it if you want to win. I ain't about to fucking lose. There's too much advantages out here. But anyway, back to you.
Back to you, Bob. So yeah, another part of the conversation, I'll tie two into one. Trump wanted to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America and take back the Panama Canal. Well, well, we actually live. We're not outside of the world where nations and empires and countries take over other areas. Like Africa is the most torn apart nation in the world, right? Um, so we had the California wildfires, and come to find out that a family actually owned majority of the water rights in that state. So we're embarking upon a new time to where people want rights over everything, land, and particularly sometimes investment firms want to buy your houses and apartment buildings so heavily that they have to pass bills to where we say they got to sell 10% of their portfolio just to make it fair for the average American to actually have home ownership. Well, let's take it further. So, Gulf of Mexico, body of water. Well, maybe it's a play for America to take over resources. This is why people fought wars. Your Pearl Harbor attack. Well, the ops was in a position to where they wanted to find a way to take over resources where they couldn't get the actual resources. So they figured they'd go to war with America in that process, and then America would give in to some of these resources. Well, that's Japan. Well, world, you have China trying to take over Taiwan. Taiwan actually owns the Taiwan Semiconductor, which makes all the chips for everybody in the world, the semiconductor chips for anything electronically processed. Russia beefing with Ukraine. Ukraine used to belong to Russia, Panama Canal. Like, this is not a new thing. I think sometimes we're so trapped into American society, we don't actually realize what's going on worldwide and the history of everything. So you're seeing now a lot of these nations want back control over what once belonged to them, or they're still trying to find a way to conquer resources. When we go to war with the Middle East and Bush created this whole thing, and then we find out he had Halliburton, which is a company he was in ownership with his family, and then I ain't gonna go too far down that rabbit hole for y'all for this episode, but we find out that that was actually over oil. That was a resource. So what's different now? Water's a resource, taking over land masses that's resourceful for that nation. So we're not far past these actual realities. So I think we just been blinded a little bit. So that's how I feel about the whole renaming the Gulf of Mexico and the whole Panama Canal situation. Is now you have an American leader that actually wants to get out over these resources in the open, and he's not like hiding it. It's behind the resources. I need that. You got it. Either you going get out and lay down. That's just how it is. So I'll let you get this, man.
Oh man, renaming Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. Keep it 100. I don't care. No, I think a lot of people want people to react the same way they react to certain. I don't care, bro. I have always been a person. Let me make sure y'all understand this now. I have always been a person that doesn't care for stupid shit like that. I don't care. I just don't. It's just y'all want me to react like put it like this, bro. Y'all want people to react the way y'all want them to react. Just like everybody's trauma is not the same, but y'all want them to react the way you want them to react to trauma. I whatever happened, it's just okay, cool. I'm not gonna be oversensitive. I'm not gonna go saying, "Oh man, that was stupid." I thought, listen, bro, people are renaming everything daily. I'm sorry, the whole history of the United States to the world,
Mm-hmm.
everything's being reinvented as we speak, bro. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I always say the only things that bother me is policies, politics, and laws, and that's the only
Mm-hmm.
things you really need to pay attention to so you know how to maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, don't care for it. The Panama Canal situation, hey, it is what it is. Like I said, it's always gonna be tactics. Like I said, hey, listen, I even said it before the episode. I said, listen, he going after Panama Canal. Well, shoot, if they're independent, the only way he gonna do that is going to war. And they're gonna lay down. It is what it is. I mean, I don't know if y'all want me to be like, oh man, war is terrible, this and that. Listen, we don't make these choices. We don't have say so. And this is what I want to make thing I used to tell men all the time. And listen, if you don't like something, get you enough status and power to where you can say something and your say so means something. Gather enough influence. That's another thing. Influence is power now. This is why Instagram, TikTok, or social media have more influence than your average rappers now. Your streamers are taking over everything. Actors, they're more powerful. Influence is a must. If you can tell me a dude that sits in his room 24 fucking 7 and streams can tell you, hey, go down to the county and buy these t-shirts, and they all buy them 25,000, and these people have been trying to sell these shirts for the last 4 or 5 months. That's influence. That's power. What is How big is your voice? What is entertaining about, or what is great about you when you speak that people want to listen? Right? This is why some people believe in working themselves up with skills, and some people are going to work themselves up with soft skills, and some people are just going to perform all around. You don't like something? Go have a seat at the table.
Right. All right. So on the light note, he had every CEO from the Mag Seven, Magnificent Seven, which would be your seven companies out of the S&P 500 that run the whole show. Let's do it. Apple, Google, Microsoft. Um, I don't think Nvidia's CEO is there, but we are. Let's take him out. But TikTok, Amazon, Meta, of course, Jeff Bezos. So we have, like I said, we have Google. We have all of these people that's leading the magnificent seven out of the S&P 500, the seven main companies in America, and a lot of people looked at that as a negative. Um, this actually can be a positive as well. Some people look at that as complete monopoly. I looked at it as like, okay, cool. His whole push is make America great again. So he has the top CEOs, and if we throw in the TikTok CEO, that would be not so much in the Mag Seven, but his whole push is making America great. He's doing business with the top CEOs within the country, who puts our country companies within America on the stock market to run the stock market. Um, Sometimes we got to just see how all this plays out. And so, what does that say? Well, maybe you should invest into the S&P 500. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should invest into particular companies within the S&P 500 to see like what's the big push. Well, we have a crypto task unit now. We have Trump's meme coins along with his wife memes coin. um, that was kind of like a whole pump and dump thing, but it happened. But he's pro crypto. Now crypto is now decentralized, which was the whole push was to was centralized. The whole push was creating something that was decentralized. So a lot of people are investing into Bitcoin ETFs, uh, certain cryptos, XRP, Solana. It's opening up the door for you to see advantage points, not disadvantages. So a lot of people are looking more so heavily into crypto than once before because you have an administration that's pro crypto. If he has the top CEOs and the American companies at his inauguration, well, you might want to look at these companies. And investment wise, Nancy Pelosi, she had her investments that was revealed. Nvidia, I won't name them all, but there was like four new investments. Maybe you should just follow the money,
Follow the
follow the
money.
algorithms.
I'm about to literally say follow the money.
Yeah, see what's the next up and coming assets, the growing assets, and then see what's in demand right now. And then maybe we can have different conversations politically. So regardless to whether you like the landscape or not, you have to see where the money's going. So look, if these are the people that's at his inauguration, and I don't like the way they doing Mark right now, Mark Zuckerberg, not me, but Mark Zuckerberg. They making him look like a bitch towards the right wing, but he came out and said the left wing made me do all these things. So now since he's like pro right wing, everybody acting like he kissing a ring, and I'm like, kissing a ring? Well, he's under a gun. I'm like, well, what was he when he was on their side? Normal, same fucking thing. Like, don't count it out now, and he was doing the same thing then. So we have to look at, like I said, Meta released its own version of CapCut. Um, let's just follow the money. Let's get out of this whole, like I said, if you whatever culture you belong to, black, white, whatever, if you want to identify it as a preference, sex, whatever you want to do as what you want to say, what community you belong to, let's look at the long term on how we're going to benefit, not not necessarily individually, but as a collective. But let's all do it politically as to what's in motion. So if we have the Magnificent Seven companies CEOs at the inauguration, now we need to look into what they're investing into. Nvidia, and particularly, and Microsoft are your biggest investors into OpenAI. So if you want to get into OpenAI, well, you would most likely invest into Microsoft or Nvidia. You know what I'm saying? So we just got to follow the money, see what's actually taking place in front of us, because at the end of the day, no matter what culture you belong to, the goal is feed your family.
Mm.
So I'll let you do your thing.
Oh man, one of the main things I want to talk about is when you actually have all powerhouses in one sit down, understand a lot of things can be done. So let's say he has most of the CEOs, the top companies from America sitting down doing business. If he puts money and influence behind them at the same time, that also boosts your economy and also gives a chance for more employment. So I don't know where people get these ideas that because everybody compete against each other, they should sit down and talk. Listen, sometimes the reason you should sit down and talk is knowing that you have other people who are competing at a high level as you. I don't know where people get this in their ideas. Like, hey, listen, um, they're super, they should be talking. Like, listen, this is no different from sports. The All-Star game. You see every superstar from different teams around the world. They all sit down and play the same game together, and you get to see it played on a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing when it goes to the Olympics. You have the top people from every country sit down, play the sport, and you get to see it on a higher level. So if you have all the top businesses together and they're sitting down, they're going to do business, what are you going to experience? Something getting done on a higher level. So the thing is, when you reach higher level, you also look for people that are competent, effective, and also can move. This is why some of the best some of the best skills you could ever have is the ability to speak. It's not always about the hard labor. It's the ability to sell. It's the ability to
Mm-hmm.
cast a vision, tell people what you're going to do, how you're going to maneuver. So I'm very optimistic to people who actually understand things of that nature, right? What people fail to realize is everybody's mentor literally is their competition, right? Mark had Bill Gates, Microsoft. Come on, bro, that's his competition. Guess who had that? You had Warren Buffett. You had all these people that are mentors are also in competition with each other. Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan and Kobe. That was his competition. That was his mentor. They still sat down. Like this should click in y'all heads. Like eventually, like listen, your competitor can also be your mentor, and that's how you get better. And they exchange information off each other, and they bounce back, and that's how businesses go up. Y'all forget that's what's his name? If I'm not mistaken, what's that? Bill Gates bought some stocks in Apple. They helped them get off the ground. Like y'all don't understand. I'm gonna get mad talking about this shit. Y'all understand business, bro.
Yeah,
So,
believe it or not.
I mean, y'all know what y'all be talking about. So, stop being emotionally charged. Even right now, my mentors are my competitors at the same time. Why? Is because not only do I want to be on the same success level as them, they still gonna let me know I'm gonna kick your ass until you get up here. And so it's all about if I'm giving you the resources to get to where I'm at, it's easy for you to get here. But see, that's what y'all don't understand when it comes to these sit downs. That's why I don't like conversations. I like sit downs. It's way quicker, way easier. You see the energy in the room. You get the. Y'all need to get in a lock in one day. That's all I gotta say. Y'all need to step in the war room, and then you'll get a different type of perception and energy that makes you go out there and want to execute in your work. That's all I
Mm.
got.
Man, Bill Gates put $100 million in the Apple. Let's just let's talk about it. So look, let's do this. Um, so when we had these kind of talks, it's more so in the masculine energy, not so men in particular, but masculine as far as the logic behind it. Um, Collectively, you only advance throughout this world if you advance politically. When we all say things, it's not what you know, but who you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, these things still apply within the logic of playing politics to advance. So I hate it when people say, "Oh, they're kissing the ring." No. Well, so when Megan Thee Stallion and Glorilla and all these people perform for the Democrats and Plies and Quavo, we never said they kissed the ring. We never said that. I I don't remember a time where a black entertainer performed for the Democratic Party where we said, "Oh, they kissing the ring." But those same people do the same thing for the other side. All of a sudden, they bowing down to power. They submit. No, it's the same thing. You can't make the same action different based on what side they played. The action
Woo.
is what the action is. This is going back to masculine thought, and this is what hurts me. When we have black men in um, roles of power and influence that still can't be masculine enough to say these things, the action is what the action is. You can't change what the action is based on how you play it on what side, left or right. It's the same thing. So if we had that same energy to black entertainers in particular when they do business with the Democratic Party, that will eventually create a space where all entertainers would be like, look, I'm not fucking with politics because I can't win either way. I go left, they talk shit. I go right, they talk shit. So you just solve the equation by keeping it authentic on both sides, keeping it fair. But you cannot blame people for picking what side they want to do business with. One thing in particular that rubbed me the wrong way was when Ice Cube came up with his platinum plan and he pitched it to the Democratic Party, Joe Biden in particular. They denied it. The Republicans at least said, if I win, I give you an ear. We called him a coon. Well, he actually pitched it to both sides. One party picked it up. Like, you cannot be mad at that. So, anyway, let's go somewhere else. Um, on the light note, well, no, let's go here. DEI regulations, discrimination, and we have race and gender and equality issues that were brought up within Trump's first 24 hours. So pretty much he said, look, there's only two genders, male and female. We won't go too hard on that because, yeah, we know. So the DEI situation, to where we're talking about the hiring process with jobs. If you want to talk about what we're calling it, affirmative action and all these things, listen. Out of your top, um, let's do this. Out of your, I brought up the S&P 500. So out of these companies, there aren't a high percentage of black people that work for these companies. Okay. If we talk about the wealth standards, well, it's not a high percentage of black people. It's actually falls into the brackets of wealth, making 150. Well, what is it? Making six figures, being able to invest 150 into your living, to your investments without affecting your living. That's just tapping into what we call 5%. There's not a lot of black people that fall into any of these categories. So when we talk about this whole discrimination thing based on race, there it's not actually a black majority. It's a minority, right? So once again, not just looking at everything surface level. When we talk about discrimination based on ethnicity and race and all these different things, we find out that it's particular groups that's benefiting the most, which would be your immigrants, right? And also, I'm not giving you my personal opinions. It's just next to that would be the whole LGBTQ community and however you want to break that down by letters. Even Tim Cook himself, to those who don't know, Tim Cook would be a homosexual male, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this will go back into the beef between him and Mark making a comment about masculinity and all these things, whatever. So from the beginning of the civil rights era, or we can take it back further. If you look at when the Indians got their little handouts and America said, okay, let's make this right. So what did whites do? They paid way to become what we call $5 Indians. So they paid $5 to have their name attributed to a particular Indian tribe. So they got the benefits that the Indians got. It's a movie like The Pale Moon or something or whatever, but you have I think it's I want to say Robert De Niro and damn, what's this other guy name? He was in Wolf of Wall Street. He was the lead star. Um, he was also in Inception. I can't think of his name right now. Leonardo DiCaprio. They actually played roles in this movie to where it was white men that was going around marrying Indian women on purpose with the intent of stealing their land rights and still because oil was a big thing. So if you married into the family and took over the land rights, then you had rights to the oil as well. So they would actually drug the women, the wives, and they would die and they would reap all their benefits and inheritance of the land. So any type of way you find out that America gave way for quote unquote civil rights to a particular group, you had other groups, I won't say names, but they found their way to work themselves into these benefits. And this tends to happen all the time. So whenever you talk about the DEI situation to where there's no discrimination based on ethnicity or sexuality, whatever, quote unquote, there are other groups that take advantage of this more so than the black foundational black American to where it was supposed to benefit the most, hence the term minority. So I think that was more of the focal point to destroy these things, not to destroy the foundational blacks opportunity. But let's just if the system gave this to a group of people, knowing that it wasn't intentionally for that group of people, I think they know more than anybody else when to give it and when to pull it away, because where is it being most used and beneficial towards? Even if we talk about the American immigrant hasn't been a problem up until now. But prior, the American immigrant was the person that came into the country, never paid taxes, never lived there, which was what most black people complain about, who've been here and paid taxes their whole life. Somebody else comes to the country, they get funding from their nation, country, quote unquote, and then America pays for them to come here, and then all of a sudden they go to college, get a degree, become politicians, get the gas stations, the wash terriers, et cetera, et cetera. Well, how does this happen? It happens through what we just mentioned: equality, race and gender equality, and DEI. So, and even when we have this whole black African versus foundational black American conversations, what happens? Africans from the continent come over here through these same programs, go to college, become your doctor, your dentist, et cetera, while you still will never get hired when this was supposed to benefit you more than anybody. So you have surface level conversations based on what's the title of a bill, and then actually when you go into the actual um, what's actually instilled within the bill, page for page, detail for detail, where you find out what the title is just the title. So I think when they attack these things about discrimination, it's not against black people because you're not included in it anyway. Just because the title says your name on it doesn't mean you're included. It goes deeper into layers. So now that America has built its entire foundation, politically, and we've advanced in so many different areas to where you actually don't need immigrants to be a part of the picture anymore because you've used that and utilized it on so many different levels. Like white is not a term in American culture that it's always been. Other groups of quote unquote white society had to come over as immigrants and work their way into white or blue blood society. So if we keep it real, like I think America's just at a point to where they're like, okay, cool, we don't have to play that game no more. So I'll let you do your thing on that.
No comment.
All right, moving forward. On a lighter note, we had Trump also reinstate military people back into the service that were non-vaccinated because he was against the vaccinations, quote unquote. You can tie that also into, let's see, da da da. America pulling away from the World Health Organization. That
Again,
was a lead play into the whole COVID phenomena. So that'll be a great close off.
Fauci got pardoned. Talk about that part.
Which one?
Fauci got pardoned. Talk about that part.
Democrats did that. Joe Biden did that, right? He didn't want him to be taken advantage of by Trump, so he saved the boy that's not his boy, but he saved his boy that's his boy, which is his son. But people say, "Oh, that was his son," so why did he pardon Fossey to be? If that was the ops and you pardon the ops to not be taken advantage of by the ops, that's weird. Was he really ops? Like that's just where I come from. That I would ask questions. I would ask questions on that. Yeah. So just moving forward into the conversation, I think it's a good thing that he reinstated people in the military that were not vaccinated. Because we want to put him on a standard that he's anti-choice. He's anti everything that's freedom. When if you actually pass things that's against people's choice of getting injected with a shot, I think that's anti-freedom. So let's just keep it real. So that was a great thing. If we're gonna let people participate in active services that choose their sexual gender or preference or whatever, you have to keep that open on all levels, whether that's vaccinated or non-vaccinated. So yeah, that'd be my push on that. I think that was a good thing, letting people come back into the service. And then I also believe that they were given back pay for the time that they were
Yep.
put out of service.
People did get back pay on everybody who wasn't able to work
Mhm.
during COVID.
So, and this is where I go back to the Obamas. And if we're a free nation, and that's what y'all want, then you can't cap out what you want to call freedom or not when it comes to people's choice personally. I'm not talking about anything that's moral based to where we can argue morality on religion, but it's an argument. But if we're talking about certain things that like involve children or whatnot, now that's not the argument. But if you're gonna be pro freedom, this goes on all levels, especially of what you want to put into your body. So you're saying a person can't have a say on what they put into their body in the form of a shot, but they can control what they want to do with their body in the form of surgery to either modify what they already are sexually or modify to the point where they change their sex. That makes no sense. So that's my push on that.
Okay. Well, that's everything that's concluded, man. Hey, we can end it right then and there unless you got anything else you want to discuss.
No, we had political talks before. I said before and I said it again. Look outside of a particular side and just see where you align morally, logically, information wise, in a sense of community, and do the math, however, whatever it looks like. I don't care what everybody else says, and you move accordingly. People wouldn't be so emotionally triggered in the negative aspects if they actually did the mathematics based on these certain things I just mentioned. So, as an investor, as a family leader, as whatever, you want to be able to look at the information for what it is, follow what's beneficial, and be able to survive and thrive in any community or society, whether it's left wing or right wing. Don't get caught up in that, especially if either side or either party doesn't particularly benefit your group specifically. You know what I'm saying? So just gotta just keep in mind, like everybody has their own wars that they fight as cultures, races, individually, whatever. But you don't want to be put into a war to where you're given a narrative on what side to pick, and that's how you live your life. Just gotta do the mathematics. The end of the game, the whole end notion is to be able to accumulate and provide wealth for your future generations, whatever that looks like. And that's how we got to move forward as a society and as a community. So that goes to the hip hop artists that performed, who personally benefited from it, whether they perform for either side, et cetera, et cetera. We have to do the mathematics and see how we actually fit into the society. So study your Mag 7 companies, um, study cryptocurrency, how it will be beneficial in the next 4 years specifically, and study what happens in the whole war world. Who goes to war with who? How does that benefit? With Trump in office, you might have an increase in a spike in defense stocks, which would be like your Lockheed Martins, your RTXs, your companies that are involved in quote unquote war, producing materials for war, maybe your oil stocks. You know what I'm saying? We just have to be able to look at each campaign and see how we benefit realistically, and then we make adjustments and make investments accordingly. We can sign out.
All right, man. Go ahead, sign us off, man.
All right, cool.
I
So
want
up top, we got no ordinary brother. I go by the name of King Exodus. Make sure you tap into the YouTube channel, Talking and Talk Official Podcast. The link is in our bio. Subscribe, share the live, get your feedback, comment, send it out to your people, especially if they want to have these political talks. And let us know how we did. Give us your feedback. We're always interested in that. And we are out. Peace.
all right, y'all. Peace.